Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining in from today. Welcome to another live session at the Reactors. Before we get into the session, please take a moment to read our code of conduct. We're all here to learn, so please be respectful of other people's views, understanding of differences, and please be kind and considerate in the way you engage. The chat will be open throughout, and we do encourage you all to participate. So we're back again with 30 Days to Learn, and today we have another exciting episode on Building with Power Pages Part 1. This session will be led by Someleze, who's a cloud advocate based in the Africa region. But now I'm going to pass it on to Olan Rewaju, who will then introduce the session.
Hi, Rav. Thanks for for this session and for bringing me up. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, from wherever you're joining us from. My name is Olanrewaju Oyinboke. I'm a senior cloud advocate at Microsoft. And I'm going to be moderating this session today on building with Power Pages, part 1. This is part of the 30 Days of Learning series in the Power Platform track, where people are able to build application using the low-code, no-code platform called Power Platform. We've been learning quite a lot, and I don't want you to miss any. So today we'll be introducing to the new feature in the Power Platform family, the new tool, which is called Power Pages. It has amazing and a lot of possibilities, and we have our host right here. We have our facilitator right here with us, who is Someleze Diko. Someleze is a cloud advocate at Microsoft. We work in the same team. I'm always always happy and excited to be on the show and program alongside with Someleze. And you agree with me, is specialized in Power Platform low-code application development, and I've delivered thousands. I delivered lectures to thousands of audiences all across the globe in different occasions with fantastic use cases. Today, Someleze will be walking us through introduction to these Power Pages, what exactly it is, and how can we leverage on it. And tomorrow, we'll dive deep more into this. Right. So, Someleze, you can also follow him on Twitter. You can see the handle right there at Diko Someleze. You can follow him there. And over to you, Someleze.
Thank you so much, Olarowanjo, and thank you so much for Ravneet to actually introducing our session today. It's always a pleasure to be part of the Microsoft Reactor events, and it's always a pleasure to be walking through with everyone and learning with everyone through the Microsoft Power Platform. So without wasting any more time, my name is Someleze Diko, as Olarowanjo has actually mentioned, and I am a cloud advocate at Microsoft that is based off in South Africa within the Africa region. And my core focus is the Power Platform, M365 and AI, also Fusion development. So if you don't know anything about Fusion development, that is mostly about using low-code, no-code tools alongside pro-code tools so that we can bring together citizen developers and professional developers to build exciting solutions. So obviously today we're here to learn about Power Pages and how we can actually get started on Power Pages, since it was a recent announcement during Build a few weeks ago at Microsoft Build in May. So today what we are focusing on is to understand what Power Pages are, and we have a brief overview of the different benefits that come with Power Pages and the different challenges that Power Pages actually address. And then we'll have just I hope it will be a small demo to actually see how to get started within Power Pages. And obviously we'll have a Q&A session towards the end of the session so that you guys can be able to ask your questions. Right, let's just jump right ahead. What is Power Pages? What are Power Pages exactly? So think of this scenario first before I can actually explain to you on Power Pages. You want to actually build business websites to actually enhance your business productivity or your organization's productivity or your team's productivity if you are either part of a university and you guys are working on a school project, or you're part of a big organization and you guys are trying to make your productivity within your teams much more efficient. So in this case, you wouldn't need to hire, if you're part of an organization, pro code developers to build a website, but you would just need to understand what Power Pages is. So what exactly is Power Pages? So let's get a little bit technical, but not too technical. Microsoft Power Pages is a secure enterprise-grade low-code software as a service platform for creating, hosting, and administering modern external-facing business websites. So whether you're a low-code developer, a low-code maker, or a professional developer, Power Pages enables you to rapidly design, configure, and publish websites that seamlessly work across web browsers and devices. See, that's one part that's really exciting about Power Pages, is that you are able to build websites, whether you are a local developer or professional developer, with just a few clicks of a button without needing to understand and learn coding or programming skills if you're a person who has no technical background. So this actually brings together teams across organizations so that they can be able to collaborate and build better solutions to enhance their productivity. And one core part or one core benefit of using Power Pages, just like its counterparts, Power Platform, and within the entire Power Platform from Power Apps and Power Automate, is that you are able to use all of the solutions within any kind of device. So that would be your Android device or your iOS device or your Windows device even. Right. Now, when it comes to web development, there are common web development challenges that a lot of developers would face. Not just developers as well, but also people who are trying to start off the journey of learning about creating websites that would enhance or increase their productivity within their teams. So the first difficulty that you can actually look at is that there would be difficulty finding balance between the functionality and simplicity when using the product, meaning if you are trying to use Power Pages and in terms of web development, it would be a bit difficult for you to find functionality and simplicity when you're using it. What does that mean actually? It means that when you are building a website, it happens that sometimes you would end up focusing more on the functionality and neglect the simplicity of your website. So that would mean you're trying to make your website much more complex. You wanted to do a lot of things, and there's a lot of moving parts within your website, which ends up confusing the users of your website. So that would be part of the challenges that you'd have. And if you make your website much more complex, what happens is that you would have some budget and time constraints that are coming into play, because at the end of the day, if you're part of an organization or you're part of a team within a company, you are always strict on budget and time because you need to deliver the solution much more faster so that the productivity of the team can be enhanced more quickly. So if you make your website more complex, it will end up causing some budget and time constraints, because sometimes companies cannot afford to have that. And that is where Power Pages come into play, because they're much more simple, much more easier to use to actually build those websites. The other part, which is very important in terms of these challenges, is that there are technical constraints whenever you are building a website or a web application for your team within an organization. So for an example, you're part of a team and there's developers within that team, and most of the time those developers are more focused on building other solutions for the business or for the clients, and then now the entire business wants to enhance productivity within teams, but now the only resource that's available is citizen developers. And in this case, citizen developers would then take time to actually learn and how to program a specific website for productivity. Whereas with Power Pages, you are able to just give citizen developers that time that they need to actually build websites without needing to understand the technical aspects of building a website, so that they can actually produce a much more better productivity enhancing solution. Right. And then the next one, which is something probably would be a bit confusing, is that when you are trying to onboard within Power Pages in this case, or you are trying to onboard within specific tools when you are trying to build all of these different websites, it's a bit difficult for you to actually understand what's going on and all of those moving parts. Whereas we'll also see what kind of product onboarding challenges would we face within Power Pages, and hopefully I'll be at the end of the session having helped you to see the different problems or different hiccups that you would find. Again, just to stress this out, is that Power Pages is still in preview mode, so we are there to produce this specific product to you so that you can be able to play around with it and not really build client facing or production facing solutions or products or apps, because in this case Power Pages is still in preview. Right now, this one part that is really important to me is that there's many friction points related to user experience and completing basic tasks, or poor responsiveness in maker experiences. So that's one of the common challenges that you would find within web development, is that whenever people are trying to build their websites, the websites that they end up building are not really user experience friendly or user friendly at all, and it's hard to complete a basic tasks, or they have poor responsiveness in terms of the users using that specific product. And we can actually solve that using Power Pages, because it's simple and straightforward, and you are able to complete those basic tasks within a few minutes. Right. So most people don't have the skills, time, or budget to obtain custom coding web development skills, which speaks to what I was talking about, is that if you're part of an organization or a company, or even you are completing a project within your university, you are always on a timely manner basis, where you have to be mindful of the time that you're spending on that project and mindful of the money that is being spent on that project. So a lot of people and a lot of customers are not able to actually go and have the time to start looking at obtaining custom skills, custom coding web development skills. So obviously this is where Power Pages would then come as a very, very benefit to them. So how exactly does low-code development address these challenges? Right. Firstly, you need to understand one thing, is that businesses today, so the business need today is a high productivity, local development platform that helps organization of all sizes adapt and respond to rapid developments in real time. So obviously, if you have specific tools that are much more complex for your teams to use when they're trying to build a very productivity enhancing solution, it will take them time, and it would not allow the businesses to be able to adapt to those rapid changes in developments in real time. Whereas when you use local development tools like Power Pages or Power Apps or Power Automate, you allow those business to be able to respond to that rapid change in developments in real time. Right. So the expected explosion in applications corresponds to thousands of potential scenarios that have traditionally been buried in development queues, because there is no commercial off-the-shelf solution available, or they are too expensive it's too expensive to actually obtain or build using pro developers tools, or using pro developers as a resource in itself. However, considered collectively, these scenarios can create meaningful value for the business. So what does this really mean? It means that a lot of times, if you go out there, so obviously within the 30 days of learning, we are trying to make you think outside the box, in terms of if you are going into the industry and you need to understand how businesses actually operate when they are building solutions. So what this means is that normally businesses would try to actually get commercial off-the-shelf solutions, so that they can be able to produce productivity solutions, team productivity solutions. And in this case, a lot of times, or in a lot of points, is that there's not really much of those solutions available or customly made for those specific businesses or those specific business needs. So in this case, those pain points for specific businesses, and also the pain points of using pro developers, because again, pro developers might be also engaged with other products or projects that are client facing and they have a specific deadline. So it's hard to use that resource within the organization, and it's also hard or expensive to hire someone externally. So that pain point would be actually a very big benefit within that organization. How is that when the business starts using local development tools like Power Pages or Power Apps, what happens is that they are able to enhance and expand and upskill their already existing workforce with the skills or the local development skills, so that they can be able to build those productivity solutions or productivity enhancing solutions. So rather than to speak to what I'm trying to say is that rather than trying to turn everyone into a developer or invest heavily in building software in-house, employing low-code development can help address those challenges, just like I said, and close the skills gap that exceeds the current enterprise capabilities. So normally, this specific point would speak to something that I've noticed within my own country, which is South Africa, where there's specific employees that are being retrenched or being recalled or losing their jobs because they don't have specific needs that or specific skills that are needed by the business. So now the business is hiring externally and just letting go a lot of employees that are already there. So instead of doing that, with those local development tools, a business like that or a company like that and employees would stand a chance of not losing their jobs, and the company would stand a chance of not losing valuable employees just because they do not have the skills. Instead, employing those local development skills and helping the employees improve would then improve the business's productivity and success. Right. Let's take a look into why a Power Platform is everyone's favorite platform for low code transformation, right? Obviously, in the past, to what you would know, because we're talking about Power Pages, is that it was recently known as Power Apps Portals. So Power Apps Portals is was an extension within Power Apps where you are able to build a low-code website, but you would go into Power Apps and start and going there and choosing how to actually build a website using Power Apps Portals within Power Apps. But now we've decided to actually make it its own product or standalone product so that people can be able to use and build their solutions to their heart's content. Right. So what does this really mean is that Power Apps Portals accounts for a significant portion of Power Apps revenue as a feature for Power Apps. So millions in revenue and momentum continues. So if a business had already had Power Apps Portals already built for themselves, they can still obviously use the Power Pages new feature and extend what they already have with their Power Apps Portals, so they do not really need to get rid of Power Apps Portals. You will see a basic similarity if you've played around with Power Apps Portals. You'll see a basic similarity between Power Apps Portals and Power Pages, right? So there are many industry use cases used through Power Apps Portals and also through Power Pages in this case for registrations or application processes, adoption across government, utilities, finance, healthcare, and education. What does this really mean? It means that when you are building solutions using either Power Apps Portals or using Power Pages in this case, because it's its own standalone product, you are able to tap into specific industries. So obviously, again, within the Africa region, we are trying to understand how we can actually use all of these different tools to build solutions, but we do not know which industry to tap into and how we can actually tap into it. So with these two tools or with this specific product, you are able to tap into, for an example, you can tap into government because there is adoption across the government. You can tap into finance. You can also tap into healthcare, and as well actually tap into the business industry side of things, where you will be actually right later on in the session, you will see the different use cases or different templates that are available for you to actually increase the productivity within teams or an organization. Right. Obviously, moving forward, this will take the existing Power Apps portals capability that is gaining customer momentum and work towards a major upgrade over the next 6 to 12 months, soon to be called Power Pages. Obviously, we're already calling it Power Pages, but again, just like I said earlier on, Power Pages is still in preview, so you can play around with it and see and see how you feel about it and how you can actually build your own solutions, but you cannot, or it's not advisable for you to build solutions that are in production or build solutions that are client facing in this state. So when it's publicly available for you to do so, you'll be able to build solutions that are in production or for your own client. Right. I have been talking about Power Apps portals and Power Pages as an addition to the Power Platform family. So let's just take a small step back and actually recap on what the Microsoft Power Platform is and why it is actually everyone's favorite low-code platform to actually use. Right. The Power Platform is a unified platform of low-code tools that spans across Office 365, Azure, Dynamics 365, and standalone applications that help you analyze data, build solutions, automate processes, and create virtual agents to transform your business. There's one part that is very important, or most of the parts that I've just mentioned, very important to you, most especially if you're part of the 30 days of learning, is that I said to you, there's specific Power Platform solutions that you can build. They can help you analyze your data. What does it mean? What does it really speak to? Is that I want you to start thinking about all of this data analysis track sessions that you have been attending for the past few weeks or for the past few days, and actually think about how you can bring those solutions that you built within the data analysis track and bring it into the Power Platform and actually start visualizing your data using the Power Platform. I know there are specific tools that were used within the data analysis track, but you can also use specific tools like Power BI within the Power Platform to actually visualize your data. So think about that. That is one of my tasks that I'm actually giving to you if you've been following along with 30 days of learning. Right, let's carry on with what the Power Platform is, right? So the Power Platform is also a rapid application development platform that helps citizen developers with limited coding abilities to innovate and build new solutions faster in an environment and user experience that feels like PowerPoint and Excel. Again, with the Power Platform, even if you do not have a technical background or programming skills, you are able to tap into building solutions that enhance your productivity or your team's productivity, or specifically the productivity of your project that you're actually building. Right. So the user experience with the Power Platform is similar to that of PowerPoint and Excel. It's similar to Excel because mostly within Power Apps, Power BI as well, and Power Automate, you would find that the specific formulas that are being used, which are very similar to the formulas that are used within Excel. Again, if you are from the data analysis track, just know that you are able to apply that knowledge within Power Platform as well and actually start visualizing your data using Power BI. So again, I just want to stress that that is my homework to you. Right. So beyond the use by citizen developers, Power Platform is actually a rapid application development and extensibility framework for professional developers that seamlessly integrates the high-speed capabilities of low-code tools and pre-built components with no cliffs, extensibility across and other professional development environments. Again, I started off talking about citizen developers, that is for people who have no technical background, but it does not exclude professional developers as well. So obviously, professional developers can use the Power Platform to extend the solutions that they actually build. So that is just a brief overview of what Power Platform is. And obviously, that is what I wanted you to remember. Obviously, if you've not been introduced to the Power Platform, that is what the Power Platform is. And also, one point that is my favorite is that the Power Platform is truly a transformative solution that brings together all kinds of developers and employees to collaborate and build solutions, whether no code, low code, or code first. That means if you are not from a technical background or you know a little bit of code, or you are actually highly intensely into code, you are still able to use the Power Platform to build those solutions. Right. I have been saying quite a lot of things, and obviously I've been talking about Power Pages, which is what we're actually here for. And I just want us to actually stop talking about what what Power Pages actually is about and the theory side of things, and actually look at how you can actually be able to get started with building with Power Pages. Obviously, today this is like a brief overview of what Power Pages are, and also how you can actually get started when you want to start with Power Pages. So let's switch over to my browser right quickly, and then now, what you see on the screen is if you search on the browser for Power Pages, you will go on. Hopefully, I know Ravneet would actually share this in the chat, but Power Pages, if you go to powerpages.microsoft.com, you find this specific site. So this is where you start off when you want to get started with Power Pages. You get into this specific website, which is the homepage of Power Pages, and it has all of the details about what Power Pages is. So currently, it's looking at community services and what kind of websites can you actually build for community, for your specific community as well. And also you can see that it also gives you information about how you can build engaging site experiences. So how you actually build a website within Power Pages is that you can build it within the design studio. So again, a recall to Power Apps. Power Apps has its own design studio where you are able to make changes or start off creating your own Power App. So similar to that, Power Pages has a similar design studio where you are able to control all of the things that actually go into your Power Page website. And another key thing is that you are able to build with the template hub. So the template hub is where you have all of the different templates that are available to you, where you are able to build a specific website from a template, and then you are able to customize it to your heart's content. Right. So obviously, if all of this information that I'm giving to you is not really making a lot of sense and you want everything to actually connect the dots, you have the Learn Hub that is within Power Pages when you get into the studio, obviously within Power Pages, and you are able to go through all of the different tracks where you can understand what Power Pages is, the Power Pages platform capabilities, and you are able to create and manage pages and how the security works with pages. And again, not leaving out pro developers now, because obviously I've been talking about citizen developers, is that you are able to build with pro tools. So tools like your Visual Studio Code, your GitHub, and Azure DevOps, right? You are able to build Power Page websites using all of those tools if you are a professional developer and you prefer using an IDE to actually make changes to your website instead of using the interface that is given to you, and also add in a different kinds of CSS customization or theming for your specific Power Page. So obviously all of this information is available on the powerpages.microsoft.com site. So I just wanted to go over that. So how can you actually get started within Power Pages? Again, similar to how Power BI and Power Virtual Agents actually work, is that you'd have to actually sign up for free. So if I click on try for free, and you are able to start off a free trial for 30 days with Power Pages. So that's how you can actually get started with your Power Pages, and then you can enter your email to start your free trial. So in this email, you can either enter your school or work email, or you can enter your personal email. And for people who have been following along and started off with the 30 days of learning, what I have done for our demo today is that I entered my developer account email into this. So you can see in this screen, that's the developer account. So this is where that developer account we actually created earlier on during when you started off with 30 days of learning comes into play, and how you can actually use it. Right. So that's how you sign up. You just try for free. You put your email, and then you fill in all of the details, and then you would have been signed up. So now, how do we actually build a Power Page? So after you've signed up, it'll take you back to make.powerpages.microsoft.com. There is some familiarity with that link, right? So that familiarity comes with Power Apps. Within Power Apps, we have make.powerapps.com, which is the specific site where you are able to go into Power Apps homepage for Power Apps and start either creating your app from a blank canvas app, or you can create your app from a template. Similar to that, we have the make.powerpages.microsoft.com, where you are able to actually start off building your Power Page website, right? So how can you actually build your Power Page website is that you are met with this button here. You can just click on create a site, and it will take you through the different steps. So we'll see this at a later stage, just a few minutes from now. Another part, because if you see on the left-hand side of the screen, there's home. So if I click on templates, this would be the templates that are available to me when I want to build and get started with a Power Page. So if I go over a few of them, again, speaking to productivity within teams and within a company, is that you would find that, which is the one that stands out the most to me, is the building permit application portal. What does that really mean is that obviously we have been, for the past few years, or past 2 years, if I'm not mistaken, we've been living in a crazy world of COVID. So now within my university as well, we needed to provide permits to actually enter the campuses that we needed to go to. So again, you can use this specific template to actually use that and actually build a permit so that people can come to your website or your Power Page and start putting in the request for their building permit applications and stuff. So you'd notice that it's also tagged as government. So obviously, like I said, within the Africa region, or obviously even across the globe, a lot of students are trying to understand how we can use these tools and how we can tap into which kinds of industries can we tap into when we're using these tools. You can see that this specific template can actually speak to the government industry. So where you are able to build solutions for a government. If you see the second template that I'm hovering over on the screen, this one is tapping into the education industry. So again, like I mentioned earlier on, Power Pages looks at the adoption within the education sector, and the finance industry, financial industry, and the cross industry as well. So obviously cross industry in this case, with this template for cross industry, it's more about new employee onboarding. So if businesses want to actually build better productivity solutions that enhance and make the employee onboarding part very much feasible or much more user-friendly or employee-friendly, they can use this specific template to actually increase and enhance that experience of employee onboarding. So the employee would use that specific site, right? So you choose that template depending on your need. And then again, if I go back to the left-hand side of the screen, I'll click on Learn. So this Learn is more on the learning hub on how you can actually get started with Power Pages. So obviously, if the session today was not enough for you to actually understand what Power Pages is, you can go to make.powerpages.microsoft.com, and then after that, you can click on Learn, where it will show you an overview of what Power Pages is and Power Pages capabilities, how you can create Power Pages, how the Power Pages security works, and the Power Pages community. Like the Power Platform community, you find the Power Pages community where you are able to ask questions, or in a sense, you can bring your own solutions or bring your own ideas on how you can actually use Power Pages, right? And then you have training videos where you can actually start seeing how you can design your homepage, setting up your brand kit, or creating a page with a list, and configuring table permissions, creating a page with a simple form, or configure access to your site, which is more on security. And then There's design and build. So obviously, again, all of these material or resources are available to you to use when you come into this make.powerpages.microsoft.com, so that you can be able to understand the Power Page website process work, how it works. One thing that I want to note properly within the session is that Power Pages, similar to Power Apps portals, its underlying database and data source that you can use is Microsoft's Dataverse. So if you want users to put in information and you want to extract that information or data from the users or from the Power Pages, you would need to store it within Microsoft Dataverse, because that's what Power Pages actually uses as its own back-end database. So you need to note that. In a case where you want to extend it and you want to put it in a different data source, then that's where Power Automate would then come into play, where you build a Power Automate flow based off of your trigger. And then whenever something is created within Dataverse or is sent to Dataverse, then you can send it to either Excel or SharePoint, wherever you want it to go to, if you do not want to use Dataverse, or you want to use another data source to actually do something else instead of using Dataverse. So that's how you can actually extract information from your Dataverse table. So all of these learning materials are available to you again. So I do not want to spend more time on those learning materials. You can go through over them and actually look and see how the tutorials actually work like. Right. So let's go back to home and see how we can actually build our own Power Page. Right, so you'd have to click on create a site. So when you click on create a site, what happens is that you are given options where you can choose from the templates that I was explaining to you earlier on. And if you want a template that speaks to education, you can click on the after school program registration. Or if you want a building permit or that speaks to the government, you can use the building permit application portal. Obviously, if you're building it for your university, which is a use case that you can actually take out from this 30 days of learning and actually build solutions for your university, then you can use the building permit application portal template. Or if you want a cross-industry solution, you can use the new employee checklist onboarding. So if I click on choose template, so you click on choose template, whichever template that you want to use, so that you can be able to customize it and make it how you want it to look like and build your own solution, your productivity solution. And then you are given the screen. On the screen, you'd have to provide a site name for your Power Page website, and then you'd have to provide a web address. So in this case, obviously, right now, the site name is site2. So obviously, I want to give it a meaningful name. So I'd give it a meaningful name. Maybe I'll call it productivity, or I'll call it something else, but something that is meaningful. And then on the create a web address part, it's not really creating an entire web address for you, but you're trying to actually make it more meaningful as well. So obviously, for an example, if you see on the screen, no one wants to have their website named as site-bc126.powerappsportals.com. You'd change this to either match the site name where we've named it to productivity, then you can have it as productivity.powerappsportals.com. Right, you can have it as that. So if I show more details, so in this case, you can choose your site language, either English or other languages that you prefer based off of your environment in this case. So there's one thing I want you guys to note when you get started with creating your first Power Page or your Power Page website using those templates that are available to you, is that it takes a bit of time to actually have your site up and running and ready. Why? The reason is because it'll actually create a trial environment where your Power Pages website will reside in. That trial environment would then have its own Dataverse table or Dataverse tables available to you, or Dataverse database. Why is this the case? The reason is because when, for an example, if I am a student from my university and I am trying out Power Apps portals, or I'm trying out Power Pages, what happens is if I start to create a Power Page and then I start to use the Dataverse database that is belonging to my university, if I used my university account that belongs to my university, what happens is that either I will not have permissions to access that Dataverse database, or I will not have permissions to actually access specific tables within that Dataverse database. So to run away from those hiccups, and also to run away from ruining or maybe doing something, changing something in a database that is being used in production use by your company or university, Power Apps or Power Pages actually builds an environment for you so that you can be able to play around with it, because it's still in trial or it's still in preview. So you would use it in a trial environment. What do I mean? Is that on the right-hand side of the screen at the top corner, is that if I click on the part that says environment, you would see that I have two environments. I have the default environment that comes with the developer account, and then this environment, which is Power Pages preview and those digits. That's my trial environment, so I can be able to create my Power Page websites freely and with no hiccups. Obviously, if I want to play around with that Dataverse table or Dataverse database, without using Power Pages, I can still create model-driven apps within Power Apps, and I can still use it within my Power Automate flows just to play around and trial with it using this trial environment. So that's one thing to note, is that you will have a newly created trial environment for you to play around with Power Pages, right? And then you will click on done. So obviously here it's just checking permissions because you chose that specific environment. So I chose Power Pages preview. If I didn't have permissions, it wouldn't allow me, or it would disable this button done. So if you have a trial environment, that is very beneficial for you so that you can be able to use Power Pages. And then you can click on done, and then it will create your Power Page website. And then it will take a while. I do not want to go through that process because it will take a while. We'll be here for almost like 30 minutes building that website. And then after that, you can edit, customize it, and do everything that you want. So I want to show you just a little brief part of how you can actually customize it. So I'll just go back to my Power Pages, or open this in a new tab. We will edit a website that's already available, which is I created to actually show you during our demo session, during this session itself, so that you can be able to see how you can customize your own Power Page website and how you can actually add different components within that website. So once that site is created, after a few minutes, you can then have the option or possibility of either editing it or previewing it. So I can click on edit because I want to see it and I want to show you how you can actually edit it. And then you'll see all of the different things that are available to you. Again, just like how Power Apps actually operates, it gets you and puts you into the Power Pages Create or Design Studio, where you are able to design your Power Page. So this is how the design studio looks like, and this is how your Power Page would then look like for you to play around and add all the different customizations that you'd want. So obviously I already started playing around with it, and I started adding my surname there, and all of those things. So if you want, for an example, you want to add an additional section, because the section would then embed or group together specific controls within your website. If you add another section, if you want to add another section, you can click on the plus sign, and then it will give you the different options in terms of one column or two columns or three columns. So that would be your section layout and how it actually looks like. If you've played around with Power Apps, you'd find that there's also galleries, where galleries give you that same option, where you either choose your gallery to be either horizontal or vertical, or and so forth. Or you can add a spacer between sections. So that's how you can actually add sections within your Power Page. And then if you want to change other stuff, for an example, the background, you can click on background here and you can choose a different color, obviously a meaningful color for you, and a color that blends in within your website so that users can be able to see it and it's user-friendly and the user experience is proper. And then This is just changing the pages, obviously. So that's how you add sections, and that's how you change the background color of your Power Page. So this is a template that I already had earlier on that I chose. So I've just changed the background color, and also I can add more sections if I want to, or add more things here if I wanted to, right? So again, if we go back to the left-hand side of the screen, is that you'd see that there's pages. So the first thing that is clicked here is pages, and there's main navigation. So in this case, you want to change the navigation of your website. So that would mean the top links that you'd find on your website. So you want to change them, or you want to add additional ones. So you'd go to the left-hand side of the screen, you click on main navigation, and then you click on add a page. And then when you click on add a page, you would give your page a name, and then you choose whether you want your page to be a blank page, a landing page, or just a page, or a sub page, or a contact us page. It all depends on what your specific needs are, right? So you can click on start blank, and then you start customizing to your heart's content, and then you click on add, and then it will add an additional navigation link on your Power Page website's navigation, right? And then you'd find that there's other pages. So there's two pages. One of them, which is access denied, is that whenever customers or clients or whoever you're building your website for is trying to access a specific page that has a Dataverse table that they do not have permissions to, then it will show that specific page and says access denied. Or if they're looking for a page that's not existing, it will say page not found. And then again, just to briefly go through all of these things, if I go back to the left-hand side of the screen, I'll click on styling. So styling, that would be in terms of the entirety and the feel of the website, in terms of the text headings, in terms of the theme for the entire website, in terms of the color palette. I can add more colors to the color palette that I'm using for my website. And also I can change the background again, and also for the fonts as well. So in this case, as you can see, it says title. If you click on title, remember, whenever you are building specific websites and using pro code development tools, sometimes there will be like an issue where you are trying to change. For an example, you have 3 titles within your website, and you're trying to change the font and the font weight and the font size. Now you have to do it one by one. Whereas within Power Pages, what happens is you can just change. You can come to styling, and then you click on title, and then you can change. For an example, you can change the font to be a different font, and then it will change all of the titles that you have throughout your pages within your websites or your website pages, and the font weight as well. If you want to change, same applies for headings. So if you want to change the font size or the font weight or the font itself for specific headings within your website, you can just click on heading 1, and then it will change all of the headings to be heading 1s to be the same as throughout the website itself. So everything else follows the same suit in terms of subheadings, the paragraphs, and all of those things. Notice also as well, in terms of buttons and links, you have primary and secondary buttons. So primary buttons are the ones that have a stronger shade, and the secondary buttons are the ones that when you hover over would have that stronger shade, but they have a white background. So in the case where you want to change the colors of the buttons, say you have 10 pages within your website, and now you need to change the colors for your buttons. Instead of having to do that one by one for those buttons throughout the different pages of your website, you can just come here onto the styling and click on that button, and then you can change the color, change the font size, change the font weight, and so forth. So that's how the styling works, and you can change the themes of your website as well. And then in terms of data, so if I click on save, in terms of data, so that's still saving. In terms of data for your website, in terms of you want to store the information that comes from your website in a specific data source, again, like I mentioned earlier on, your Power Page website actually works with a Microsoft Dataverse database. So you then have specific tables that are embedded within those templates. So again, you can add your own table within this site For an example, you can add a standard table that is already existing, or if it doesn't meet your requirements, you can add a custom table that would meet your requirements. So in this case, my template already has a feedback table that is already a standard table within Dataverse, and it has all of the different columns here. If I want to add a new column, I can add a new column, and then it will show me all of the different options and different details that I have to specify. So the display name of the column, that means the display name to the users, the description, the data type in terms of is it single line or is it a number, the format, and the behavior. So in a case where it's a number, if you want it to be a calculated column, for an example, based off of other columns. Also, do you want it to be required or should it not be required in that case? So that's how you create a column, and then that column will then be created within Dataverse in your Dataverse table that you already have. So if you go through the normal process of checking your Dataverse table and the changes that have been made to the Dataverse table, you would find the newly created column within that table. So you do not have to go through the process of going to Power Apps, clicking on data and clicking on tables, then clicking on that table and having to create the column there, but you can create the column here if you do not find the column that you're looking for within that table. Right, and then obviously the table data has a new row. So if you want to have dummy data within your table, you can click on new row, add dummy data within your table, and then it'll reflect within your table. And then there's views, which is views come with your Dataverse table in terms of the views that display the information, the views that capture information from the user, and the views that again would then display the information. So in this case, you'd see active feedback, all feedback. So these views are on in terms of displaying all of the feedback that is existing within Dataverse, or views, for an example, comments. In this case, again, it displays the comments for that specific feedback. So that's how administrators, you as the administrator of the website, can be able to view the data and the information that has been left for your website. And then it has forms to capture and display information similar to views. So you have the feedback form, which is where users can actually add their feedback, and you have the new comment form where users can add their comments in terms of their feedback, and a contact us form where users can add on contact us as well. So I do not want to go into deep because of time, but the last thing that I want you to look at is, after looking at your data for your Dataverse table and also your website in Power Pages, you can look at the setup in terms of now authentication for your website and table permissions. So authentication for your website uses identity providers. If you want your users to use a local sign-in to your website, you can enable the local sign-in for your users, so they can add in, if they've registered on your website, then they can add in their email, then their password. If you want them to use the Azure Active Directory, in terms of now, if I'm part of an organization and I'm given an email, I can use that specific email to just log in. So my Microsoft email, for an example, and also if you're a student ambassador, your student ambassador account or your student email account that you have within your university, because whenever you are signing in using your university, you normally click on sign in and it asks you for your student email, or you just click on sign in and it automatically signs you in. Or you can choose to either allow your users to sign in with Facebook or LinkedIn or Google or Twitter or a Microsoft account in terms of how they can actually access your website. So those are the identity providers that come with the authentication for your users in your website. And then in terms of table permissions, is that now, if I can just quickly explain this, remember those pages, those other pages that I mentioned earlier on in terms of the ones that says access denied. So this is where you'd set your permissions for your table. So if you have a Dataverse, table and it is linked to your Power Page, and your Power Page displays either, for an example, a list of things that come from the Dataverse table, and the user does not have permissions, and that user complains to you about it, this is where you'd add that new permission for specific users. So in this case, if I click on add permission, I'd need to specify the name of the permission, where is this permission, where am I applying these permissions to, which table is it? So I would choose the feedback table in this case. The access type, global access type, that's what I want my users to have. And then what other permissions am I giving those users? Am I giving them to read, write, create, delete, append to, or am I just giving them to just read specific information in terms of displaying a list of items? So whenever the user comes into the website, they can see all of the information displayed to them without having to go through the access denied problems. So basically, that's how permissions work. So you then again would specify different permissions for different users. So in a part where I didn't show you is that you can specify which users are having those permissions or that new permission that you created. Would it be anonymous users, people who are not signed in into your website, or authenticated users, users who have signed in your website, or administrators, or all of them? So in a case where you want to display information to everyone, anonymous users as well, they can just externally because your website is externally facing, they can just see the information based off of what you want them to see. And then authenticated users can see more information in terms of what you want them to see. And then administrators obviously would see everything within your website. So that is basically it about table permissions, just an overview of it. And then all of these options are coming soon for Power Pages. So the progressive web application for mobile is coming soon feature as well. The site details as well for administration and admin settings is coming soon for Power Pages. But if you want admin settings for your Power Page, you can go to the admin center or the Power Apps admin center if you would like to. Then the last part is, if I click on those three dots, is that you can connect, just like I mentioned earlier on, you can build an automated workflow for your Power Page website. So in a case where you want to listen into specific changes to the Dataverse table that your website is lying on top of, so you'd have that automated workflow, and then it would run within Power Automate whenever something is changed within the table in Dataverse. Then either send an email or send the information back to SharePoint or Excel or OneDrive, or send a picture or something like that. Depends on the requirements that you would need. And then if you want advanced configuration of your website, you can use the portal management tool, which is something similar that has been used for Power Apps portals as well. So basically, that's how you can get started with Power Pages and how you can customize it and set up security and authentication for your Power Page, and also set up Power Automate flows as well. So that is it for our demo. And I hope you've learned a lot in terms of what I've just spoke about in terms of getting started with building with Power Pages. Obviously, I didn't get into deep because this is just an overview of what Power Pages looks like and what it offers. So now, what's your next step currently? I would like for you to actually complete the Cloud Skills Challenge that is going on around for the 30 days of learning. And then if you feel comfortable, you can also try to complete the learning path for the PL 900 so that you can be able to take the PL 900 Microsoft Power Platform Fundamentals Certification exam. And also reach out in the communities, the Power Addicts community, where you are able to ask any questions related to the Power Platform, and obviously the Microsoft PNP community as well, where you are able to see weekly updates on what's going on around the Power Platform and how people are using it differently. And you never know, I would like to actually get you to reach out to the community to come and have your own session there, talking about either Power Pages, which is something I would like to see, or talking about anything else that you actually learned throughout the 30 days of learning in regards to the Power Platform as well. Speaking of community, I'd like for you to apply for the Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors Program during this time period of the days of learning, where you'll be able to actually find like-minded individuals, where you can become a student leader and bring together your peers to build vibrant digital communities across the globe, where you learn new skills and solve real-world problems. Again, like I mentioned earlier on, if you use Power Pages, you'll be able to use one of those templates where you are able to either build a website for building permit or an after-school registration program, or an employee onboarding checklist using that template, because a lot of companies do and use the employee onboarding. So they would like to actually improve on how they onboard their new employees. So that's an opportunity for you to take advantage of and say, hey, I can build this for you. It will bring an enhanced productivity within your team or within your organization. Other than that, I'd like to say thank you for having me for today, and thank you for listening on for the session. And it has been a pleasure to pass on my knowledge and what I know about Power Pages. Back to you, Olaranju and Ravneet.
Thank you very much, Someleze. To be honest, it's been a highly engaging session. I was thinking it's just more about getting to know about Power Pages, but with the demo you did, I mean, I felt myself working already with this tool. And I can already imagine what tomorrow we offer, because we are to dive deep into this tomorrow by building something and playing more with those features. Thank you very much, Melise. I also want to just read one question so that we can use this to address. Can we add Power Pages to our existing Power App environment? If so, what permission is required to do this? That's a question.
Okay, so again, like I mentioned earlier on, that's a really great question. Like I mentioned earlier on, Power Pages is still in preview, so it's still advisable for you to actually use the trial environment. If you are using an existing account, so you're already using an existing account for your Power App environments, it will create a trial environment within that tenant or within that account that you're already having, because the idea is to not fiddle with the already existing data that is in the Dataverse table in those environments that you have that are existing. So rather have a trial environment to experiment with Power Pages so that you can be able to see how it actually works like. So again, when it's GA, probably you'll be able to actually you add Power Pages within an existing Power App environment, for an example, your own environment or a default environment that you have within your own tenant.
Amazing. Thanks for that response. So, as Sumelis already said, you are encouraged to take part in the Cloud Skill Challenge. It's right there. The link is there, ak.ms/30DL Power Platform. That takes you to the 30 days of learning Cloud Skill Challenge that prepares you for Power Platform related certification exams. And you also get to know more about these tools and applications within the ecosystem, that even outside the Power Pages that we are discussing right now. I want to thank everyone for joining and for being part of this session, for staying true and for registering. And also to our host, Rab, at the back end, thank you for doing a lot of production, helping us to be sure that things are running well. And Somalis, once again, thank you. This is not a bye-bye, because we're still going to see you soon. We're going to see you tomorrow and even the day after that. So I'll say maybe bye for now, or see you soon, everyone. Bye.
Thanks, Ranju. Bye.